Why emotional safety improves sexual connection. Speech. Sexual connection is often misunderstood as something purely physical, chemistry, desire, technique, or attraction. But psychology tells us a deeper truth. The quality of sexual connection is strongly influenced by emotional safety. When people feel emotionally safe, sex stops being a performance and becomes an expression of trust, presence, and intimacy. Emotional safety means knowing you won't be judged, rejected, or emotionally punished for being honest. In relationships where safety is low, people stay guarded. They hold back desires, suppress emotions, and fear vulnerability. This creates distance, even during physical closeness. When emotional safety is present, the nervous system relaxes. The body no longer operates in defense mode. This allows desire to flow naturally instead of being forced or performative. Sex becomes less about validation and more about mutual experience. Many people confuse intensity with intimacy. Chaos can feel exciting, but it also activates stress hormones that interfere with deep pleasure. Emotional safety lowers cortisol and increases oxytocin, the bonding hormone that strengthens trust, closeness, and sexual satisfaction. Safe emotional environments allow honest communication about needs, boundaries, and fantasies. This openness deepens connection because both partners feel seen and respected. Desire grows when people feel chosen, not pressured. Emotional safety also helps partners remain present during intimacy. Without fear or self-consciousness, attention shifts from performance to sensation. This creates deeper arousal, stronger connection, and more fulfilling sexual experiences. Ultimately, emotional safety doesn't reduce passion. It stabilizes and deepens it. It transforms sex from something you do to something you share. And that is where true sexual connection lives. 5 key points of the speech. 1. Emotional safety relaxes the nervous system, allowing desire to flow naturally. 2. 3. Sex becomes deeper when performance is replaced by presence. 4. 5. Emotional trust increases oxytocin, strengthening sexual bonding. 6. 7. Honest communication enhances intimacy and satisfaction. 8. 9. Safe connection turns sex into shared emotional experience. 10. Key point 1, emotional safety relaxes the nervous system, allowing desire to flow naturally. Sexual desire is not only a physical response, it is a nervous system response. When the nervous system feels threatened, judged, or emotionally unsafe, the body prioritizes protection over pleasure. This is why emotional safety plays such a powerful role in sexual connection. Desire cannot fully emerge in an environment of fear, pressure, or emotional uncertainty. The nervous system operates in 2 primary states, survival and safety. In survival mode, the body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals are useful for protection, but they directly interfere with sexual arousal and pleasure. Even if physical attraction exists, a stressed nervous system limits the body's ability to relax, feel sensation, and remain present. Emotional safety shifts the nervous system into a state of calm regulation. When someone feels accepted and emotionally secure, the brain reduces threat detection. This allows the parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for rest, bonding, and pleasure, to activate. In this state, desire can emerge organically rather than being forced or performed. Many people experience low desire, not because they lack attraction, but because their nervous system never fully relaxes around their partner. Fear of judgment, rejection, or emotional withdrawal keeps the body tense. This tension disrupts arousal, even in loving relationships. Emotional safety removes this tension. Safety is built through consistency and emotional responsiveness. When partners respond with empathy rather than criticism, the body learns that closeness is safe. Over time, this creates a physiological association between connection and comfort. Desire begins to feel inviting rather than demanding. When emotional safety is present, people feel freer to explore sensation without self-consciousness. The mind quiets, attention shifts from monitoring the partner's reactions to experiencing the moment. This presence deepens pleasure and strengthens connection. Psychologically, desire thrives when there is no pressure to perform. Emotional safety removes the fear of doing it right or meeting expectations. Without pressure, curiosity replaces anxiety. This curiosity fuels arousal more effectively than obligation ever could. As emotional safety increases, sexual connection becomes more sustainable. Desire is no longer dependent on novelty or intensity. Instead, it grows from trust, relaxation, and emotional closeness. The body learns that intimacy is a place of restoration rather than stress. In essence, emotional safety creates the conditions that allow sexual desire to flow natural. It turns intimacy from a test into an experience and from an obligation into a choice. Key point 2, sex becomes deeper when performance is replaced by presence. In many sexual relationships, performance quietly replaces presence. People focus on how they look, how they sound, whether they're desirable enough, or if they're doing it right. This mindset turns sex into something that must be achieved rather than experienced. While performance may create short-term excitement, it limits depth and emotional connection. Performance is rooted in self-monitoring. Instead of feeling sensation, the mind stays busy evaluating itself and anticipating the partner's reactions. This mental distance reduces pleasure and blocks emotional intimacy. Presence, on the other hand, brings attention back into the body and the shared experience. Emotional safety makes presence possible. When people feel safe, they no longer fear judgment or rejection. The need to impress fades and authenticity takes its place. This shift allows both partners to be fully engaged rather than emotionally guarded. Presence deepens sexual connection because it allows vulnerability. Being emotionally present means allowing yourself to be seen, not just physically, but emotionally. It means responding honestly, expressing desire without fear, and staying connected even when emotions surface. This openness strengthens intimacy. When performance disappears, communication improves. Partners feel comfortable expressing what feels good, what doesn't, and what they need emotionally. This honesty creates a feedback loop of trust and satisfaction. Desire becomes collaborative rather than competitive. Psychologically, presence increases body awareness. When the mind isn't distracted by self-judgment, the nervous system remains relaxed. This enhances sensitivity, arousal, and pleasure. Sexual experiences become richer and more fulfilling. Performance often thrives in environments of insecurity. People perform to protect themselves from rejection. Presence requires courage. It asks for emotional honesty. Emotional safety provides the foundation for this courage. As presence replaces performance, sex transforms. It becomes less about outcome and more about connection, less about proving worth and more about sharing experience. This transformation deepens both emotional and sexual intimacy. Ultimately, presence allows sex to become an expression of trust and closeness. When two people are emotionally present with each other, sexual connection becomes not just satisfying, but meaningful. Key point 3, emotional trust increases oxytocin, strengthening sexual bonding. Sexual connection is deeply influenced by chemistry, but not just the kind people usually think of. Beyond physical attraction and desire, there is a powerful neurochemical process that shapes how bonded, connected, and satisfied partners feel during and after intimacy. At the center of this process is oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is released through emotional closeness, trust, affectionate touch, eye contact, and vulnerability. Unlike dopamine, which fuels excitement and craving, oxytocin creates feelings of safety, attachment, and emotional warmth. It is a chemical that tells the nervous system, I am safe here. Emotional trust is the gateway to oxytocin. When trust is present, the body relaxes enough to allow bonding to occur. When trust is missing, even physically intimate experiences can feel disconnected or empty. This is why sex without emotional trust may feel intense but short-lived, while sex rooted in trust feels grounding and deeply connecting. Trust reduces emotional defenses. When someone believes their partner will not exploit, shame, or abandon them, the body stops guarding itself. This allows oxytocin to flow more freely, strengthening emotional attachment and deepening sexual connection. The experience becomes less about stimulation and more about closeness. Oxytocin also enhances emotional memory. When sexual experiences occur in emotionally safe environments, the brain associates pleasure with security and connection. Over time, this strengthens attachment and increases long-term desire. Partners begin to crave closeness not just physically, but emotionally. Without emotional trust, the bonding system remains partially blocked. The body may experience arousal, but it does not fully attach. This can create a pattern where sex feels satisfying in the moment, but emotionally hollow afterward. Trust fills this gap by allowing intimacy to settle into the nervous system rather than passing through it. Emotional trust develops through consistency, honesty, and emotional reliability. When partners follow through on words, respect boundaries, and respond with empathy, trust grows. Each of these behaviors signals safety to the nervous system, increasing oxytocin release over time. This is why emotionally safe relationships often report higher sexual satisfaction, even when passion feels calmer. The bond itself becomes erotic. Familiarity does not kill desire. It reshapes it into something deeper and more secure. Ultimately, emotional trust transforms sex from a physical act into a bonding experience. It strengthens attachment, deepens connection, and allows intimacy to become something that nourishes both partners emotionally. When trust is present, sex doesn't just feel good, it brings people closer. Key point 4, honest communication enhances intimacy and satisfaction. Honest communication is one of the most underrated drivers of sexual connection. Many people assume desire should be intuitive, that partners should just know what each other wants. In reality, unspoken expectations create confusion, insecurity, and distance. Intimacy deepens when people feel safe enough to communicate openly about their needs, boundaries, and experiences. Emotional safety is what makes honest communication possible. Without it, people censor themselves. They avoid expressing desires out of fear of rejection, judgment, or conflict. Over time, this silence creates emotional disconnection. Partners may remain physically close while feeling psychologically distant. When communication is honest, intimacy becomes collaborative rather than performative. Instead of guessing or assuming, partners learn how to respond to each other in ways that feel meaningful. This reduces anxiety and increases satisfaction because both people feel understood rather than evaluated. Honest communication also normalizes vulnerability. Expressing needs requires emotional courage. When a partner responds with respect and empathy, it reinforces trust. This positive feedback loop strengthens both emotional and sexual intimacy. Each honest exchange builds confidence that openness will be met with care, not criticism. Psychologically, communication reduces cognitive load. When desires and boundaries are unspoken, the mind stays busy monitoring reactions and managing uncertainty. Clear communication frees mental space, allowing people to be more present and relaxed during intimacy. Presence enhances sensation, arousal, and emotional connection. Communication also helps partners adapt as relationships evolve. Desire changes over time due to stress, health, emotional states, and life circumstances. Honest dialogue allows couples to navigate these changes without interpreting them as rejection or loss of attraction. This adaptability strengthens long-term connection. Importantly, honest communication includes listening, not just speaking. Feeling heard is as essential as being able to express oneself. When partners listen without defensiveness or dismissal, emotional closeness grows. This mutual responsiveness strengthens attachment and trust. In emotionally safe relationships, communication doesn't reduce desire. It enhances it. Knowing you can express yourself freely makes intimacy feel safer and more fulfilling. Satisfaction increases when both partners feel seen, respected, and valued. Ultimately, honest communication transforms sexual connection from something fragile into something resilient. It creates clarity, trust, and emotional closeness. When partners communicate Openly, intimacy becomes a shared language rather than a silent struggle, and satisfaction naturally follows. Key point 5, safe connection turns sex into a shared emotional experience. When emotional safety is present, sex stops being a solitary performance and becomes a shared emotional experience. Rather than two individuals seeking validation, release, or reassurance, intimacy becomes a moment of mutual presence and connection. This shift is subtle but transformative. It changes not just how sex feels, but what it means in emotionally unsafe environments. Sex is often used as a tool. It may become a way to secure closeness, avoid conflict, prove worth, or prevent abandonment. Even when pleasure is present, there is often an undercurrent of anxiety or emotional distance. The body may be engaged, but the heart remains guarded. Safe connection removes this emotional armor. When both partners feel emotionally secure, sex becomes an expression of trust rather than a negotiation for validation. There is no need to earn affection or maintain control. Desire flows from choice, not fear. Psychologically, shared emotional experiences strengthen bonding. When partners are emotionally attuned during intimacy, responding to each other's cues, emotions, and rhythms, the brain registers the experience as meaningful. This creates a sense of togetherness that deepens attachment and emotional closeness. Safe connection also allows emotions to be present during sex without disrupting the experience. Laughter, tenderness, vulnerability, and even tears can be integrated without shame. This emotional openness strengthens intimacy because it reinforces the belief that all parts of the self are welcome. When sex is emotionally shared, satisfaction increases. Pleasure becomes less about intensity and more about connection. People feel fulfilled not just physically, but emotionally. This fulfillment reduces the need for constant novelty or external validation. Over time, shared emotional intimacy creates a secure attachment. Partners feel bonded beyond the moment. Sexual connection becomes something that nourishes the relationship rather than compensates for what's missing. Safe connection also fosters resilience. When challenges arise, partners can maintain closeness without using sex as a bargaining tool or emotional distraction. Intimacy becomes supportive rather than transactional. Ultimately, emotional safety transforms sex into something deeply human. It becomes a space of expression, trust, and mutual care. When connection is safe, sex is no longer about proving desire. It becomes about sharing presence. And that shared presence is what creates lasting sexual and emotional fulfillment. Give me conclusion of speech and goodbye notes. Conclusion. Sexual connection reaches its deepest potential when it is rooted in emotional safety. What truly enhances intimacy is not perfection, performance, or constant intensity, but the ability to relax emotionally with another person. When the nervous system feels safe, desire flows naturally, presence replaces pressure, and intimacy becomes an experience rather than an expectation. Emotional safety allows sex to move beyond the physical and into the emotional. Trust increases bonding, honest communication deepens satisfaction, and vulnerability strengthens attachment. In safe connections, sex becomes less about validation and more about mutual closeness. It stops being something to achieve and becomes something to share. When emotional safety is present, intimacy becomes sustainable. Desire no longer depends on fear, novelty, or insecurity. Instead, it grows through trust, emotional responsiveness, and share the experience. This kind of sexual connection doesn't fade easily. It deepens with time. Understanding this shifts how we approach relationships. Rather than chasing intensity, we begin building safety. Rather than performing, we choose presence. And in doing so, we create connections that are not only more passionate, but more meaningful. Goodbye note. Thank you for taking the time to listen and reflect today. I hope this conversation helped you see sexual connection through a deeper psychological lens and encouraged you to value emotional safety as the foundation of real intimacy. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on how emotional safety shows up in your own relationships. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.